and, and
know,
and it works in the other direction too. So how we affect each other, on a positive note, making someone feel good, like smiling at them or something, giving someone a compliment or whatever. And, now that spreads. It's like paying it forward. Like they go through their day, having a more positive attitude on life and hopefully influence other people in a positive way.
hey, people that don't like to talk to their waiters and that stuff hate me because I'm the guy. I'm not going to be done taking your order until I've made you laugh or smile at least once. I mean, now I'm not saying I'm not going to read the table and know, shut up, dude, but you know, someone at the table is going to smile, twinkle, crack a smile, joke, a laugh, something before I walk away with that entire order because that should be part of the experience of going out. You're going out to have a good time, especially if it's a bunch of sour looking people. I love to make old sour people laugh.
Well, that's you doing God's work right there, um, a little bit of joy that maybe they wouldn't have had otherwise, a smile, a laugh.
And like I said, I do it for selfish reasons. I do it because it makes me feel good. Why wouldn't I? I mean, if making myself feel good is a selfish reason, and I think it kind of is, because I could be making money doing a lot more or in a management where I'm not making people directly happy. Definitely not making people happy.
I I feel like God is a servant. God serves. It was the creation, you know, the oxygen, the earth, the plants, the animals, you know. Um, God is the greatest servant. How you feeling? Today the name of the show is God's Work. What do you think about that? What does that mean to you? God's work.
Um, well, as far as I know, he's a truck driver.
I like that. I like that. I do.
I
I do. I
mean,
like that. Go ahead.
but
You know,
Not necessarily the views of anyone. God's work. It's like, thank you, God, for this day we have lived, everything in our life, our health, our family, the guidance you have given us. Allow us guidance to the path of righteousness. Amen. God's work. God's work. I'm all over the place right now. I might have a hard time with this. God's work. What does that mean to y'all? What does that mean to you? Do you feel like you're doing God's work? Really? Do you ever even think about it? Do you like, like with your job or with the daily things that you do, like maybe with your family, the things that you do, whatever you build or create? Do you feel like you're doing God's work? And I guess it depends on your perspective of God, right? That's because that's why I'm careful with some things because some people say, like, I really believe in God. And when I say God, I'm talking about the universe, the creator. You know what I'm saying? The creator of all things. So, like, you have people who call, like, they're saying God, but they're really kind of worshiping the devil, Satan or whatever image, whatever you want to call it. Something that goes against God, goes against creation because we're talking about creation, the natural order of things. And I think that when some people say, God, they don't mean the creator, they mean a entity that's pushing against creation. And from their perspective or whatever, that could be whatever, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the source, you know, the most high, you know, the most beneficent, if you will, God's work. So like falling in line with it, falling in line with balance, falling in line with nature, you know, the natural order of things, the cycle of things, because like someone, if they want to live forever, they say that they're coming out with the technology. People are going to be able to live a lot longer, to the point where maybe they could get to the point where people could pretty much live forever. If they really feel like they're heading that way with technology, what'll happen is we'll be kind of robotic. We'll have all these robotic parts that just keep going, and you can just replace the parts or fix them, so you can just keep on going. But who knows if that can actually work, but if it did work, then we would be something like the Borg from Star Trek, but I don't think that that's natural. I think that the natural order of things is that we're born, we live, and then we die. Like, that's the cycle. That's the natural cycle. So I think that if we're thinking of trying to live forever, then we're pushing against God. We're pushing against nature. We're pushing against creation, like, the vampires, right? The vampires, they live forever. And then they say they're damned. They say they're damned. But it's like, when you look at it, you have all of these vampire movies and books and stuff, and people are so into it and they like it a lot. It's like the idea is basically the vampires, they get to do whatever they want. Like, right? Their morality is different because they live so much longer. They prey on people to be able to sustain themselves also. So then if they have to do that for their survival, then of course their morality is going to be different. But it's like, oh, it's so cool. You get to live forever and you get to freaking do whatever you want to do, and you have superpowers and stuff. But then they say they're damned. And then if you think about it practically, if you start thinking about it practically, as far as like all your loved ones or anyone that you get attached to, if they're not a vampire, then they're going to pass away. Like, at some point, like, they're going to grow old and they're going to die, and you're going to have no family and no friends and no loved ones, really, because how could you, unless there are other vampires, other ones that live forever, and then it's like the part that makes you fall in love with them is the preciousness of them, they're the way that they are, and then another vampire can't be that way. So it's like you see in a lot of those vampire stories, it's the vampire falling in love with like a human or whatever. And like, it's a lot, it's sexual a lot. This vampire thing is very sexual. And then from the human point of view, it's like this all strong, last forever or whatever. There's a sexual tension, like a sexual attraction to the idea of vampire, is what I'm saying. But I think that my point related to the vampires is that, God's work is natural. God's work is nature, like the farmer, that being a mother, just how plants grow, the insects, the birds, the cycles of the sun and the moon. It's like, this is what I mean. So we like to look at things from a perspective of like an individual, and like what's most important to us individually, it's what's important. Like, basically what I'm trying to say, we're not looking at, what we're supposed to be doing or whatever. And that's fine as far as like the idea of freedom. And then they say in the Bible, the greatest gift that they gave you was the gift to choose. And I like that a lot. I really like that. So it's like God loved you so much that he gave you the option, you know, to do his work or not. And then you have the idea of like, okay, why would God need anyone for any work or anything? Like God's work, you know, you got to work for God. So then you're a slave. So, but then that's not what it means. That's not what it means, because it's not doing what you're supposed to do. It's doing what's natural, you know, what keeps life forever, what keeps the balance, you know. I think that we like to feel like we're bigger and better than all the other animals or insects of the world, like we're more important than the other beings. But it's like God created them too, right? What makes us think that we're better than them? You know, the the balance, the different groups of people, I mean, the different animals around the world, like all the other sentient beings, like we respect them. That's God's work, having reverence for them. I was thinking about how people do prayers before they eat, you know, and I think that's a cool thing. I really do. But I think that in the world that we live in today, we've forgotten what that's about and what we're really doing. Okay. So that the plant, if you're a vegetarian, the plant, it gave its life for you. Okay. But that was the cycle of its life. So you gain sustenance from it. It gives you energy. It helps you grow. It keeps you alive. You wouldn't be able to live without the sustenance of that other thing, the plants, you know. But then it gives that thing a reason to live or a reason to exist. Like it gets used, if that makes any sense. It it wasn't wasted, you know. So the prayer is supposed to be you giving thanks to that thing. It's like same thing with the meat. If it was an animal, that animal died. The animal died and was butchered, and you're consuming its flesh to give yourself energy to keep you alive. So you're supposed to have reverence to that animal, you know. You're supposed to have reverence for that animal, and because he sacrificed his life for yours. Do you understand? That's the balance. That's the cycle of things. And the same thing will happen when we die. You know, if things were the way that they're supposed to be, the energy from our body will be consumed. Okay? The plants, you know, once the bugs break it down and then it becomes organic matter, and the plant, the same plants that you ate to live, is going to use those nutrients for its sustenance, so it can stay alive, so it can grow. These are the cycles. So you have the cycles within the cycles. You have the cycles of the life of the individual person, and then you have the cycles of the universe, of life, you know, the whole life. So life forever. For life to be forever, it has to regenerate itself. It can't be wasteful. So then that's what it is. When you're respecting the animal, you're respecting the plants. That's a whole nother reason you're not supposed to eat too much. You eat enough. You need to eat enough for your sustenance, to for you to make it to the next day, you know. And then you also have reverence and respect for that energy that you had to take from. It's always an energy transfer, like a give and a take. So that's the reason why halal is a thing, you know. It's the way that the animal was slaughtered. It's the way that the animal's life, it lived its life. Okay. And it was respectful. And it, you know, one of the things I think is really important is that last moment before they die, where they're afraid You know, were they terrorized? Was it a traumatic event? Because that trauma is going to be in the meat. And then when you consume it, you're consuming that trauma also. So it's the same thing with their life. So they lived throughout their life and it was a traumatic ass life. And now you are consuming that. I think that's the reason why, like, you know, when the meat, it tastes different and sometimes, and it'd be the exact same cut and everything, and maybe even was fed like the same. It can't be fed the same stuff. It just, its life had to be different if it lived like more of a freer life. But then we like these fatty meats, right? So a lot of people feel like, you know, the wild meat is gamey, right? It's going to be less fatty because these animals were living more naturally. And so, but then we know that it's the fats that make us sick. The science is telling us that. It's really, really clear. The oils, the fats, you know? So, but that makes it all. I had a teacher one time that she's an anthropology teacher. One of my first anthropology teachers. I think the one that kind of got me into anthropology. Like, she didn't do it on purpose. She was just teaching her class, and I just took this class as an elective for whatever I was trying to do before. And so, but then I took that class, and I was like, oh my God, this is what I study at home. And this is so interesting stuff. Like, this is it right here. So, but she made a comment. She was talking about a donut. She said the donut is really the perfect food. Now follow me. It's soft. It's packed full of calories, and you just can just swallow it like immediately, like, and also it's you know, it's broken down really quickly, so it gets right into your bloodstream, right? So when you're starving, you know, and you don't have to be starving. It's just you want to consume calories and you want to do it in the easiest way. So that's the reason why, like, a donut will be perfect. So you're in the forest, you're lost in the jungle. A freaking donut, that's gonna be heaven. Okay, do you understand? But we also know that donuts are really bad for you, right? So it'll keep you alive, you know, but for you to have a fruitful life, for you to be healthy, you know, live on and be able to move around and have kids or whatever, the donut is no good. You know what I'm saying? That one, you know, you can't do it for the long term. But on a short term basis, the donut is the perfect food. So that's the thing. And so we have to find our balance. We have to look at it and think about it in the right way, because we have so much power now as humans to completely create our atmosphere as far as like our environment. We're able to manipulate our environment to the point where we know what temperature the room is. Can y'all really think about that? Like, we really have manipulated our environment. We have the water coming right into our house. We've created these environments. So, okay, that's fine. But we need to realize, you know, where we're going wrong. Like, you know, if we can't just eat donuts, right? So it's like that when we're talking about slaughtering the animal, or same thing with the vegetarian, with the plants, you know, the life of the plant. You know, I used to grow a lot, and I was a little kid. They said I had a green thumb. I used to grow cucumbers, watermelons, peppers, tomatoes. I've grown everything. Potatoes. This, as a little kid, I was growing this stuff. Strawberries. So, and I used to talk to my plants, like I had a relationship with my plants, and I also not just kind of talk to them, but also touch them, like caress them. Okay. Now that might sound weird, to people, but it's kind of like the same way you do with people, you know. And I couldn't even help it. It was just a natural thing. Like I just do it without even thinking about it. Like the leaf looks really pretty and shiny or something, and I just want to rub it. I just want to touch it, you know? And that's what I do with a lot of my plants. And, you know, I can't help it. So it's like, but some plants get more attention than others. You know what I mean? Maybe it looked prettier. Maybe it's just it's juxtaposition, you know, in proximity to you. Maybe that's the only reason, you know, or, you know, there is something more to it. It's kind of like, you know, what other people you fall in love with, people that you end up making a family with, you know, you can't really think of exactly. I mean, you could say, I like this person, but you liked other people too. Why was it this person? Like, I think that's a thing. So, but you rub the plant, you talk to the plant, you know, you care for it. You make sure that it has enough sunlight. You make sure it has enough water. You make sure it has nutrients. You make sure it doesn't have too much water or too much sun or too many, like the wrong nutrients. You know, you care for it, you love it, and it grows. And like it depends on how you cared for that plant, how it turns out, you know, how fruitful it is and how healthy it is. So like let's say you're growing spices, you know, it's really easy. We can do these ourselves. Even if you're living in apartments, you can have the pots and grow the spices. And with all plants, it's still the same. Talking to it, loving it, touching it. So then when you consume that spice, that plant, then you're consuming all of that love, you know, you're consuming all of that care, you know. That's God's work. It's the cycles of life. It's balance. It's love. God is love. So loving things makes them, you know, better. They grow, they're fruitful. So, but then you have to think about loving people, because we talked about the animals and in the other show, and talked about how like I don't like the pets and the cages and all of this, and we want to be free, right? As humans, I don't know how free we are actually, but we want to be free, and we know the idea of being free or being locked up and being able to live the life that you want to live. We was talking about depression and how living, you know, like in a prison is going to make you depressed. You know, living in a sick system or sick society is going to make you depressed. So then what the other things that we touch is affected by that. So that's what I mean. Loving, it spreads. It's contagious. Okay? But on the other side, that's also spreads, and it's also contagious. Yeah. So yeah,
I mean, I
well,
can't just sit there and go, "Hey, that's God's work."
let me clear it up, because the question was, do you feel like you do God's work? Do you feel like you contribute?
I'm alive. I'm kicking. I haven't been taken out because I fucked it up. So I must be some part of the plan somewhere.
I like that. I like that. I think that's good. I like to say my existence is the resistance, meaning that, you know, just living on is, you know, fighting against the powers that want to go against God, you know, want to go against the real cycles of life, the natural orders of things. Just keeping going. Because we influence the people that we touch, you know, that we meet, that we talk to, that we bump into. Like even just from like the car in front of you. You changed how fast they were gonna go through the light or stop at the light and make a turn or whatever the hell. And that really changes their whole trajectory in their life, right? Like it affected their life because everything else after that is different. Y'all get what I'm saying?
Just do it on one single day. You're sitting at a traffic light. The guy in front of you's on his phone, some shit like that. It's the beginning of your day. And he sits there, and there goes the light. It starts to turn just like, what the fuck? God, was it that? Finally, he notices and goes while the light's almost red, sticking you at that freaking light with people honking behind you when it's not even your fault.
Yeah. Now you 10 minutes, 15
The
minutes
rest of
late.
your day is fucked up from there. That
So-
little discourtesy, that little oh fuck moment that guy just had, which he walks away with a sense of embarrassment, and that's it. And
Probably gets to this destination on time and everything.
yeah, and here you are, you're upset, you're bad, and now you're projecting this. And now the people at work pick up on it, even if it's just a little bit, and that puts an edge on their day. And then something a little happens to them, and now because they got that edge already, now bam, their day starts. Damn it, I got that 0 tip. That just pissed me off. Winch, you just got $25 on a $30 tab. Why are you bitching about 0 on a 40? I mean, you still made a better tip on both of those combined than you normally should have.
Thank you, God, for this day. We have lived everything in our life, our health, our family, the guidance you have given us. Allow us guidance to the path of righteousness. Amen.
Really, I'ma get that bitch. Revenge is a dish best served cold. She took my son, now my soul is cold. He took my daddy, now my soul is old.
My question was to the people is, do you